Hey guys, how you doing? My name's Brian from the Hemorrhoid Academy. If you haven't seen any of the other videos, I'm basically talking about how to get rid of hemorrhoids, and in this case, naturally. So, two and a half years ago, I began with hemorrhoids, just like most other people, slight discomfort. Then it progressed into bleeding, and then extremely, I was really sore as a result of external hemorrhoids, and I had internal as well, so you had the bleeding on your stools and all that carry on. But I really set about a mission nearly to reverse this as a result of a potential cancer diagnosis and basically being told that I would need to go for surgery. And if you haven't seen that video, be sure to go back, check it out. It gives a more sort of in-depth overview of my story, my background, and everything I went through to reverse this. And today what I want to talk about is really the result of all of that pain and frustration and quite an intense 9 months really. And that's really brought about the pressure protocol, which is a system of steps to help you reverse your hemorrhoids, no matter what phase you're at. Obviously, the sooner you start doing this, the less I would hope that would progress. Now, I just want to look at, how creams and the traditional treatments and surgeries really seem to fail. And it's as a result of treating the symptom rather than the root cause. Okay, so if you have external hemorrhoids, for example, and you're putting cream on there, you're treating the symptom of inflammation. You're not treating the root cause. How did that inflammation come around? Why is there pressure there? Why is there reduced circulation? Excuse me. And there's other traditional treatments, like maybe even internal hemorrhoids. They would use suppositories. So again, you're masking the symptoms. Surgery, you're just really cutting the issue out. Now, I kind of look at the hemorrhoids I had as a warning sign of bigger issues internally, and like an opportunity really to start and reverse that. And that's what a lot of illness is giving you telltale signs that you're doing something wrong and it needs to be addressed. So surgery is an option. I just decided it wasn't for me. I didn't want to go through with it because I read too much about it. And it wasn't a guarantee, and you can be off for 4 to 6 weeks and it's incredibly painful. You can go into all the, the research and the Reddit threads and different Facebook groups. It does work for some people, but there's no guarantee that it's gonna, stay away, and quite a lot of cases, there's reoccurrences. And I've touched on it there, why most hemorrhoid treatments fail. And it is literally as a result of only treating the symptoms and not going for that root cause. So the root cause approach, and it's been referred to recently as medicine 3.0. It's about going in there, finding out how something actually works, working back. It's nearly taking a first principles approach and going to the start, and how the way I did it was find out all of the different things that could directly impact or bring about causation of hemorrhoids and the symptoms I was having. So we're always going to be looking at not just the symptoms. They're like the siren on the fire truck. It's, oh, there's a fire truck. There's something happening, but there's a fire down the road. Okay, so you want to really listen to that siren, get out of the way, and make sure you're not there when the fire breaks out. So what I'm going to look at here is there's about 4 steps. And then there's loads of sub-steps within these steps of the pressure protocol. But step 1 is what we call the pressure protocol and the pressure reset, essentially. Now, what I want to address here is the mechanical pressure, poor circulation, inflammation, and then pelvic floor dysfunction. Now, when I talk about mechanical pressure, we're really talking about the anal sphincter, which is basically the entrance into your, it's the anus, essentially, your bum hole. So that there sphincter can get tight over time. Now, there's two sort of approaches. For me, I had loose stools quite a lot, and my thought process was that anal sphincter is not opening and closing naturally, and it was getting too tight because it wasn't getting this natural movement. And I thought about it in terms of any muscle. If you're sitting down and you're not using, say, your hip flexors, they're going to become tight, they're going to become inflamed. You want to start and bring movement back into that muscle, more activation, more blood flow. The other way that this can, in my view, bring around hemorrhoids as well is the other side of things. So maybe you're constipated and you're having to strain, so you're putting more force into that mechanical pressure that's quite tight, and under pressure it's having to expand more than it would like. Under that, you imagine a tight muscle and you're trying to stretch it, it's not the right way to do it. So when I thought about it in this way, I basically looked back in history. I also looked at different research papers, and what I discovered was, as early as the 1900s, they were using anal dilation to work with hemorrhoids and a load of different other conditions. But because of FDA approval, I think the doctor at the time, maybe went a wee bit far in his messaging and saying what anal dilation could do for certain people, so it wasn't researched enough, so he got basically struck off and it was sort of lost. So that was my first introduction to that, and I bought a anal dilation kit or a butt plug trainer kit, and it took me maybe 3 weeks or more before I was in a position where I actually wanted to do it, because I'm not a fan of putting things in my bum. But it happened around 3 o'clock in the morning, couldn't sleep, majorly stressed, itching, sore, and I just thought, okay, screw it, into the kitchen, smallest butt plug, which is very small actually considering the size of some of your stools, and yeah, just with coconut oil, and I knew the background of coconut oil, which I'll get on to in a minute. Basically lubed that thing up, inserted it very gradually, and I had nearly in that moment of release. It was soothing, definitely felt a bit of a relief, and I was able to calm down and I could go back to sleep. So it was only the next day I was like, wow, there's been a change here. This is something that I really need to focus on. And now you're looking, if you've watched the other videos, there's a full system, it's all laid out. It wasn't like that in the early days. I was testing loads of different things. Like there was one point I had cauliflower up against my bum hole. Or not cauliflower, sorry, cabbage. Not that it's any different really, but it is a cooling effect. Like there wasn't anything that I didn't try to see if I could remedy this problem, because I knew the traditional things weren't working. I didn't want surgery. I was like, there has to be something out there. So this was weeks and weeks of research, learning, and all that kind of stuff. So the reason under mechanical pressure, why this pressure protocol works, is the way I see it is, in my case with diarrhea or loose stools, I was mechanically increasing the size of the sphincter by myself, under no pressure, nice and relaxed. It's not like I've read in some of the treatments where they literally stretch it open whenever you're knocked out and under like a surgery kind of procedure. It's completely relaxed, and you allow that there. You can even contract against it, and it allows it to relax and build and releases inflammation, increases circulation as well, and you get this release, but you're doing it under your own control, and you're training the sphincter to open and close, which it should do naturally. So I had lost that ability. Now, if you're coming at this from, say, a constipation sort of standpoint, yours isn't, say your stool builds up and it's too large, the size of it, and it's putting pressure, you then can use the butt plug to increase that size, so then you won't have to strain as much. And the way I view it is, in terms of the constipation side of things, is shit happens, okay? So it's going to happen. You've no control over the stool that's coming out of you. Now, if before that happens, you take control of that, you use the anal dilation, whatever size of butt plug you feel, gradually I would say work up, you're in control. You can relax and contract as much as you like. I was only doing 5-10 minutes a day, and that will start and train that, and then indirectly will ease the strain that you're going to have, you know, when you're passing your stool. Now there's other things that can help there as well, and I can talk about them. Like, I never went to fiber or anything like that, but things like magnesium citrate, coconut oil, just any kind of MCT oil, oils in general will really help with, you know, getting that through. So that's why it works, and I've kind of went over what it is. It's a very simple thing. I think there's quite a lot of stigma. I don't even know if it's specifically men or women, just a lot of people don't like putting things in their bum. But if you're at the point where it's either surgery or running through these steps, you know, I know what my choice would be. And if you want to know how to use it, there's a free guide in the description. So you can basically jump in there, try it for yourself, let me know how it goes. I'm open to answer any questions. Do you know what I mean? But the main thing I can say on what I did was just made it under my control, nice and slow, progressive. Only move up a size when you're ready for it, and I wouldn't leave it in for too long. And at the start, I didn't want to be then going, you know, to the doctor with a butt plug in my arse. So I was scared to even let it go. I wasn't going over the sort of edge of the butt plug. I always held on to it. Now, the way they're designed, it can't go in, but it's always in the back of your mind. So that's a real concern, and, you know, it's fine. Now, what I did along with the anal dilation, I have coconut oil here. So I had a bit of experience with coconut oil. I've used it for various different things. And it basically has antibacterial, antifungal, it's obviously a lubricant. It's got really good properties for this, because at the early or late stage of hemorrhoids, you can have quite a lot of bleeding. So I didn't, and you know, just the tissues like inflamed, like, so you don't want to use another chemical that's going to add to that quite a lot, like the creams of hydrogen cortisone and stuff in them, which can thin the epithelial layer of the skin and make it even more inflamed. So coconut oil has real soothing sort of properties to it, and antibacterial, antifungal, all the different things that you need. So it's got a healing nearly benefit to it, and it acts as a lubricant. Now, later on down the line, when I was healed and I was really only doing it once a week to once a month, I haven't done it now in months, like 6, 7, 8 months, maybe even a year, I can't remember. But I then would have used like a lubricant that you would buy in the shop or the chemist or whatever, and it was a lot more slippy, you know, than coconut oil. But I didn't have any of the things in the back of my head where there was bleeding, there was cuts or whatever that were healing. You know, it didn't worry me as much, and I wasn't doing it as regular, so it didn't really impact it. But coconut oil, 100% organic, is going to be fantastic. Cold pressed, I think, was the one I used, and you can buy this anywhere, like, so it's handy to get. And the results from this for me was, I can say instant because I had that instant relief and was able to go back to sleep, but within a couple of days it was like markedly better, and then within 2 weeks it was like, I'm a new man. The impacts this has in your life, when you reverse that, you get your confidence back, your relationships back, you're not as angry all the time. It was just incredible. And what it does is it sets you up for, I'll go into the other steps in future videos, but some of them are, increased circulation, reduced inflammation, and also a lot of things to do with the nervous system. Whenever you start to release pressure, you invariably lower inflammation, and you also increase circulation. And when we're talking about hemorrhoids, these hemorrhoidal sacs, whenever they bulge, blood and stuff or whatever gets sort of stuck in there like a pool. So if you imagine when the butt plug goes in, it pushes up in that pool, gets the blood back into the flow, and then can start flowing circulation. This is my thought process on it, and there's a lot of research that can back that sort of, up in terms of how it works. So the results were pretty impressive. It's very, very simple. You just kind of have to go over yourself a bit. Dim the lights, go to, in your bed, relax, and trigeminal dilation. It worked for me. It was definitely the foundation to stack the other steps on top of, and you know, touch wood, fingers crossed, that's 2.5 years ago. I haven't had anything since. So if you want to see a bit more detail how to use it, the guide's in the description. Download it, comment, like, share, follow, let me know what you think, and I'll be going on to step 2 in the next one. So if you're interested, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay.